Well, AEW Wrestling's become a big part of our programming here on TSN, and AEW makes its way through Canada beginning this Saturday in Toronto. And one of the stars of AEW is joining us on the program for the second time. It's the one and only Kenny Omega, Canadian. And Kenny, you first joined me back in March of 2019. I remember it well. You were promoting your documentary, Omega Man, A Wrestling Love Story. We had a great chat, and you had just joined AEW, and they hadn't even had a show yet. They hadn't even, so you know, in a lot of ways, you didn't know what to expect, and here we are 4 years later. Can you possibly believe how big and how impressive this organization has become?
No, I can't. We were flying by the seat of our pants, and we had all the dreams in the world, and we wanted to do the best that we could with what we had. And we had thought, sure, we'll get that show, the flagship show. And what had followed, which would be, two dark programs, another program with Rampage, and now even a third televised program with Collision. And a laundry list of big show pay-per-view matches, one of which in Wembley Stadium coming up. I never could have dreamed of it. But what I could dream of was that we would eventually be here in Canada. And not only did we come to Canada, but now we're coming back because the fans were incredibly hospitable. And the reception is always incredible when we are there. So I'm happy to be back and happy to take part.
Well, back in March, you had a chance to wrestle in your hometown of Winnipeg. You were back in Canada
Yeah.
for the first time for us. Just describe that moment for you. What must that have been like for you to go back to the Peg and wrestle in front of your hometown crowd?
Boy, no, I don't get a chance to go home too often. So to be home and then and believe it or not, that was my first time at the new arena, especially backstage at the new arena. So to be backstage and see where the Jets play, their dressing room, and to see the lay of the land and just take it all in, knowing that this was my arena, my hometown arena, and that I would eventually be having my music played, walking down that rampway, and I'd be the feature for one night only in that arena. It was a great feeling, and I didn't realize how much it meant to me until maybe after the show had ended. Um, More specifically, after the match had ended, it was I wouldn't say emotional. Maybe that's not the right word for it, but it was a little emotional, and it was just yeah, like we took this pipe dream of a promotion and we brought it all the way here, and there are a lot of happy faces in the audience that loved what we did, smiling, cheering. It was I felt like we did something really cool at that point. I thought it made it feel all worth it.
And I think this upcoming tour of Canada is going to be exactly the same day, same way. Now, when you were on the show last time, we talked about your time in Japan. AEW has the Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up this Saturday. You can get it on your Bell television service, by the way. That's a joint show between AEW and your old company, New Japan Pro Wrestling. You made your return to Japan back in January. Why did you decide to go back, Kenny?
I'd felt like there were pieces of unfinished business. I'd sort of left the company in a state of needing people to fill my shoes. I had assumed a lot of responsibility within that promotion. I had pretty much wrestled in most, or if not all, of the big matches on my way out of the door with New Japan. And I knew that if I had left, the last thing I would want was for the company to be in a bad position with someone not ready to assume that main event role. And I thought that I'd had two likely candidates that could hold the reins, keep the fort together, and put forth a very unique but New Japan worthy effort in Switchblade and Will Ospreay. And as someone who had made Japan my home, and for something that was so important to me, being New Japan, I had always kind of kept up with the things while I was even doing AEW. And I just sort of felt like they weren't doing enough. They
Right.
weren't doing enough, and maybe they needed a trial by fire, and to see by example one more time just what it is that I'm asking them, what is required from them to be the face of the company, to be the driving force behind the company. So I felt it was very important for me to go back to that promotion, challenge for a belt, and it just so happens that I won the belt, and now things are back in control, as if it's 2018 all over again. Um, so I think Will Ospreay, who has certainly learned a lot, grown a lot, he's developed a lot. He's coming in for blood. He wants revenge, and this time it's going to be on my home soil, Canadian soil. So you're going to see a little bit of taste of Japan, my second home, and we're going to be fighting in my first home, Canada. And I think it's going to be something very special for fans that haven't had a chance to see either of us perform live for a very long time.
And for those who don't know, it's all laid out like this. You won the U.S. championship from Will. Will has made it very clear he does not like Canada. How will that play in to your defense of this title on Sunday against Will Ospreay?
I really don't understand his beef with Canada. Perhaps it's more Canadian people, and I think every country has some despicable people living within it. Sure, maybe I'm one of them. Maybe I'm one of them. Perhaps the business has clouded my soul a little bit, darkened my heart. I'm not sure. I'm just here being me. But what's most important about all that is I still believe deep down that I'm probably the best wrestler and best representative on a worldwide scale for professional wrestling. So, um, love me or not, hate me or not, like I'm the benchmark. I know that I'm the benchmark. So Will has to step up his game, and he has to show something much different than what he showed at Tokyo Dome, because now we're in Canada, and now this is probably going to be his last chance to win his belt back. And if he doesn't, I really have no obligation to go back to Japan either, as much as I'd like to. So they just may lose one of their most prized possessions for an undisclosed amount of time. So it's a very big match for Will.
It's going to be a huge, huge couple of weeks for the AEW. Over the next 5 weeks, listen to this, AEW will be in Toronto, Hamilton, Edmonton, Regina, Saskatoon, and Calgary. If you don't have tickets, go get tickets. You're going to see this guy. You're going to see a ton of great stars. And Kenny, you're a gracious guy. We really appreciate your time and wishing you the best of luck on Sunday. And welcome back home. We're excited to have you back.
Thank you very much. I mean, again, we don't get to go to Canada as much as we'd like to. I'd love to go there every second week or so. But for us to spend almost the entirety of a month in Canada, showing you guys what makes AEW so special, which is really that live crowd energy. Get yourself a ticket. If you like wrestling, even just a little bit, show up to a show live and see what all the fuss is all about. They're really fun shows, great for the entire family, great for everyone. I think it's going to be a heck of a tour.
Thanks, Kenny. You're a good Canadian boy. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys.
We'll be back with the On Rights and Wrongs right after this.